There are some people who are so jealous and envious of other people that they can't help but to try and embarrass you and humiliate you and humble you any moment they get. Specifically, they like to do these kind of things in public because it makes them feel better about themselves. There are some people who absolutely hate themselves. They feel insecure. They don't like themselves. They're very unsure of who they are. They don't think they're very intellectual. They might not even think they look good. And because of that, when they get around somebody like you, somebody who they feel intimidated or jealous of, that's when they feel like it's their time to shine, where it's their time to put you in a lower position in order to elevate themselves. There are some people, especially when it comes to the workplace, I think about, where you'll see a woman in particular with another woman. She'll see you thriving, looking good, feeling good. You're being kind to the other employees, and she'll use that as an opportunity to call out something that you did wrong. And she'll make sure that she does this openly and loudly so that other people will see. When people seek to humiliate you and, quote, humble you in front of other people, they are expressing their jealousy toward you. Some things that people like to display in the open about you can be a side conversation. But if they did those things privately, that would spare them and spare you the option of being humiliated and embarrassed in front of other people. And their whole goal of bringing up your shortcomings is to humiliate you in front of other people. When a person is jealous, envious, and feels insecure around you, they always want to humble you, or they want you to be humbled. They're always waiting for somebody to come along and tell you that your stuff stinks like everybody else's, that you're not that great, that you're not this, you're not that. They're always trying to co-sign on the foolishness that somebody else has against you. Have you ever noticed that people who don't necessarily like you or they're jealous of you in some way, they will never ever, when good things are going on for you, they have nothing to say. They sit in blunt silence. But the moment something goes wrong, they have so much opinion. They have so many, suggestions for what you could do. They're very invested in your growth and you becoming a better person because they don't see you as that great anyway, even though they secretly know that you are. But there are some people, because they are jealous and feel insecure around you, they make it their mission to humble you and highlight their perceived shortcomings of you. There are also some people who get a kick out of constantly correcting you. You may also see this in the workplace too. Have you ever been around a woman, like maybe your boss or a superior in some way, where you could be saying something that makes sense to you? It's not a definitive thing. It could be an opinion. And they automatically come along with the, well, actually, this is what it is. Well, actually, this is what people typically do. It's like they get a kick out of rebutting everything you say. It's like when you say up, they say down. When you say north, they say south. When you say east, they say west. You say gold, they say silver. It's like they get a kick out of saying the opposite of any and everything that you say. That is one of the number one signs that somebody is very insecure and that they're a little bit jealous of you, because they get a kick out of going head to head with you. It's a defense mechanism. When people are insecure, they always have to try to one-up you in some way. They can never just let you have it. They have to always be competing, even in the most pettiest of things. I have seen people actually compete with other people when it comes to where they're from. And mind you, a lot of these people are from the worst of the worst ghettos. It's like, okay, I'm from the Bronx. I'm from New York. Oh, well, I'm from Philly. I'm from Camden. Okay, so what are you competing about, being from one of the most dirtiest places, from one of the most ratchet, ghettoest places? I've never been to the Bronx. I'm just using this as an example. But living in a place, have lived in a place where it's not that great, like it's the hood, and people actually compete and compare and want to one up each other when it comes to where the dustiest, dirtiest, most ratchet place they lived in, because it's a pride piece for them. It's so petty. There are some people that get jealous because they don't want you to have credibility in any way, even if it's something as dumb as street credibility. I've literally seen this where it's like, oh, you don't know nothing about this. And not just with men, with women also, where it's like, oh, we know how to fight. We know how to do this. Like, girl, you was in the house. What are you talking about? But I digress. The point I'm making is that people like to compete over the most stupidest things when they're insecure and somewhat jealous of you. It's that one-up thing. You could have said that you went to a certain kind of restaurant. You went to Ocean Air. They went to Steak 48. You went to Del Frisco's. They went to whatever, some country club. It's like tit for tat all the time. Trying to be in a friendship with a person like that can be very exhausting. Trying to be in a relationship with someone who's always competing with you and trying to correct you and trying to show you that somehow they're smarter than you, they're better than you, they know more than you, you'll never achieve as much as them. It gets very exhausting being around people who are insecure. And as women, as you level up, as you work on your own self-development and self-improvement, it is important that you surround yourself with people who are not always going to be trying to compete with you, but they want to grow with you. They want to learn from you as you learn from them. You are there to sharpen one another. But when you're in a relationship, be it a friendship or an intimate relationship with someone who's insecure, you're going to either find yourself butting heads with them all the time, or you're going to find yourself having to dumb yourself down and shrink yourself back in order to make them feel good about themselves. And that is no way to be. And a lot of the time, some people might be thinking, well, if they get that kind of vibe from you, maybe you're being conceited, maybe you're being arrogant, maybe you're doing too much. Let me tell you, there are some people who are so insecure, it doesn't matter what you do and or say. You could be trying to help them and they will still take an issue with you because they don't feel good about themselves. You could offer to make them a meal. You could offer to give them a ride and they'll say, I got my own car. I don't need a ride. You could offer to make them a meal. Oh, I'm not hungry, or I know how to cook. I didn't ask if you knew how to cook. I said, do you want something to eat? You understand? I don't need you to do this for me. I can just hop in my own car. Okay, maybe you didn't want to drive today. It's always that defensiveness. When somebody is insecure and they don't really feel that good about themselves, they are always going back and forth with other people trying to prove that they are worthy. And they're not trying to prove it to other people. Oftentimes, they're trying to prove it to themselves. Being in charge of propping another person's ego up all the time, because that's what you'll find yourself doing. You will find yourself propping up the ego of a person who is jealous and insecure around other people. And it gets to a point where you go from being supportive to feeling like, I need to get away. Because people like that, when they rather put other people down instead of dealing with themselves, they're going to put you in a position where you feel like you're not supported, where you're not heard, and you just always have to cater to them in order to prop them up. And a relationship, be it an intimate relationship or just a mutual relationship between women, it has to go both ways. It should be reciprocal. But if you find yourself always having to dumb yourself down and tiptoe around that person's feelings and watch what you say because they're so insecure by everything, that's not somebody you need to be around. Like, if you can't be but so excited about how you look, you can't buy a nice outfit and be cute and, hype yourself up in front of your friend because you know she's going to feel some kind of way if you do too much, that's not really your friend. That's not a safe space. And as you grow as a woman and mature, especially if you're leaning into your femininity as a woman, you want to be around other women that you can be that girl's girl around, that you can just be yourself. You can sip your tea, sip your drink. You can wear your dresses, have your cute hair and talk about things and talk about goals and dreams and inspirations and, all these different things. You don't want to be around someone that you have to tiptoe around their feelings all the time because they don't feel good about themselves. And I'm not saying as women, We don't all have some kind of insecurities at one point in time, but there are some people who live in their insecure state and they like it there. And they don't care about personal development. They don't care about spirituality. They don't care about becoming better people. They just want to be a victim of their own mindset. And in essence, they want to drag you down with them. And as you level up and become more confident, spiritually, mentally, look better physically, feel better about yourself, you're not going to want to deal with that. That's why you need to be around people who understand that growth is necessary as a grown woman. Growth is necessary as a person for men and women alike. But people who are so insecure around other people, instead of working on themselves, they just want to bring you down a notch. They want to get you to stop being so confident, get you to stop being so faith-filled, get you to stop being so hopeful and drag you down to the pits with them. And we can't allow that. There are some people who look at your optimism and your confidence as somehow a hit against their ego, against their pride. And while you see this a lot with men, a lot of women are like this also, where it's like any accomplishment you make, they somehow see it as a hit on them, especially if there's some kind of unwritten, unseen agreement that y'all were going to be in the trenches together. See, some people, they only like you when you're at a certain level. If you continue to stay down and out with them and you continue to have like that victim mindset where it's like, I can't work on myself, I'm waiting for somebody else to do it. If you're the kind of woman who doesn't operate that way, and guess what? You grow as a woman, you mature in your mindset. The people who are jealous and insecure around you, they might not even like you anymore as a friend. They might begin to push you away simply because you no longer entertain their misery. You no longer entertain their miserable mindset, and you no longer deal with their little backhanded compliments or their little slick remarks and the way they subtly but loudly often try to put you down. See, people who are insecure but like to keep you around in their circle, they always want you to feel their insecurities, if that makes sense. They always want you to feel that they don't feel that good about themselves. And in essence, they're trying to make you not feel that good about yourself. Hence the reason why they're always going back and forth with you, while they're always saying, you say up, they say down. It's always a tug of war of who's right, who's wrong, who knows more, who knows less. It's like they always have to be the one who knows more than you, even if they don't, because it makes them feel better. And as women, you are not obligated to be anybody's like a clown or anybody's rope, anybody's, project. You're not obligated to be somebody's punching bag where they use you as the dumping ground for their insecurities. You don't have to sit around someone who, instead of becoming more educated spiritually, mentally, or just intellectually, they just want to tell you you're dumb. They want to tell you you don't know the things you know because they don't know it. Or you get a little bit more book learning, you go back to school, you get a course or you study something, you learn something, and now mum's the word, shh, I can't talk too much about this because it's going to make Susie feel some kind of way. So I just keep it to myself. While I'm all about moving in silence, I am not about hiding your gifts and skills and your abilities in order to coddle the emotions and feelings of insecure people. I'm not about that. There is a fine line between showing sensitivity towards people who are going through a hard time and actually trying to tiptoe around people who aren't trying to do anything except for bring other people down. I'm not tiptoeing around anybody who is bent on staying stuck and stagnant and hating on people who are trying to do better for themselves. But some of us have dealt with friends and family alike who absolutely see progress as kryptonite. They see your evolution as a woman and how you've evolved from a girl to a woman as some kind of kryptonite to them. They look at you being a wise, well-watered woman as somehow a threat to their humanity. And my goodness, let's talk about men for a moment. Because as women, you have to really be careful the kind of man that you're getting a relationship with. Because some men only want women who they can control. meaning they want you to be so subservient to the point where you don't even see your value or your worth, where you will treat him like a king, but in a toxic way. You'll tell him he's smart, even though he's not. You'll tell him he's wise, even though he's not. You'll co-sign on any dumb idea he wants to do and offer no opinion because they see that as being supportive. But if you're a woman who is the kind of woman who is feminine, but also challenges a man, like most masculine men don't mind being challenged in a respectful way, if you're that kind of woman, then certain men are not going to vibe with you. There are some men who can only tolerate women who are as dumb as doorknobs. And I'm not saying that you have to be highly intellectual, degreed up, but let's be real. There are some people who are easier to manipulate because they don't have the intellect, they don't have the wisdom. I believe, number one, they don't have the wisdom or the discernment to see when they're dealing with someone who wants to control and manipulate them in order to elevate themselves. And when you're the kind of woman who sees that, this man only wants to deal with me if he can somehow love bomb me into being his clown, his clownette. And I guarantee you, no masculine man wants to deal with a woman who is always just like, yes, sweetie, yes, you're right, you're right, you're right, even when he's not. We're not clowns. And a real man and woman doesn't mind being challenged. They don't always have to be right. But a person who's insecure and jealous of another person, they always have to be right. And you're going to find yourself going back and forth with them, or either you're going to give up and give in, which you should not do, or you're going to get away from them. I personally do not have friendships with people who I feel like I have to coddle their thoughts, feelings, and emotions all the time. It's like the only people I can do that with were my children when they were younger. But adult people should not need that much coddling. If they feel that insecure, that's why they have to work on themselves, be it physically, mentally, spiritually. We all have work to do. And it is not your job to build a man, to build a woman. You can impart wisdom. You can be a mentor. Some people might look at me as some kind of mentor or a coach, and I am that. But at the end of the day, we all have to kind of be accountable for our own feeling good about ourselves, our own self-love and self-worth and self-confidence. And that doesn't come at the expense of putting down other people. But jealous people who are insecure and want to go back and forth with you, they believe the more they can drag you down, the more they elevate themselves. But what they don't realize is that the more they show themselves to be competing with people who they think or who they want to be close to them, they just push them away. So many friendships have been destroyed, all because one person could not stomach the idea that another was making progress. It was always that trying to one up one another. No relationship can go on that way. So as women, if you find yourself having to always shrink back and you got to coddle the emotions of another adult person because they're insecure and refuse to work on themselves, that is not the kind of person you need to surround yourself with. Because if they're always in the business of humbling you every chance they get, I'm all for being humble. We're supposed to, especially if you're a spiritual person. But I am anti other people humbling you because they feel insecure around you. We don't deal with that. Run away. All right? Like and subscribe to the channel and share this content. Hit the notification bell so that you're aware when I post a brand new video. If you watch this video until the very end, put the high heel emoji in the comment section. I absolutely love to see it. Take care.